All right. Golly. Woo. That's a loud one. I'll stand back here then. Or is that better? Okay. Um, we'll call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock on March the 23rd of the Lake Kiowa Board of Directors meeting. And our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, and Dylan would lead that. Go for it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right back there. So we had a little bit of an adjustment today. So if you notice, we're a little bit further back and the screen's up there. So just bear with us as we go through. I will establish a quorum, all board of directors. And so all the new directors did show up tonight. So that was great. And welcome to Lisa, Rick, and John, who've joined the board. And we do have a quorum, as well as we have other POA staff with us today. Just real quick comments for the record from the president. It is that time to find committee members. And so a lot of people have said that they were interested in being on a committee and serving. And so if you're interested, please let me know or let another board member know what committee you might be interested in, what you'd like to do, so that we can get you signed up for something and you can enjoy the fruits of your labor as you go through and work on different committees. There's always something going on someplace, and usually it's an interest. So with 19 committees, we have lots of different interests for you. So please let me know so that we can get you signed up for that. Next section is the comments from the members. This is your opportunity to share with anything. If you've looked at our agenda today and you know what our agenda is, if you have any comments before we get into the agenda, you can feel free at this point in time. Just let us know your name and lot number.
My name's Sharon Chapman, and I live at 544 Kiowa Drive East. We've lived here for we've lived here 28 years. For years and years and years, our family has enjoyed the East Beach. Last year, I called to see if we could have something done down there about the beach. The dirt is so hard, it hurts the little ones' feet when they try to walk on it to get in the water. And they said last year they would look into it, but nothing happened. And there's grass growing almost down to the water. And I would ask you to please take into consideration fixing the East Beach up so that the families can enjoy it again.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for being here for 28 years. Wow. There's some history right there. So if anybody has a question, I think she'd probably be more than happy to tell you where we were and where we are today. Anyone else have a member comment? Okay. The next opportunity for you to comment will be toward the end before we do additional, or right after additional business in the agenda. So our first order of business will be deliberating on the regular board director meeting minutes, which were February the 23rd. And I'll entertain a motion if you'd like to approve it, or if we have a motion from Chris. Is there a second? Cecil seconds the motion. And so are there any additions or deletions to the minutes? I will make a note at that meeting. It was Nancy Jackson president. And so that correction needs to be at the bottom, at least the minutes I just signed were. Okay. All right. Anything else? All right. Hearing nothing else, then we will vote. All those in favor of approving the February 23rd, 26 meeting minutes, raise your hand. All right, 9-0 on that. I guess there is no opposed. All right, and next we'll consider the organizational board meeting minutes from March the 14th, 2026. Is there a motion to approve those? Chris? And Rick seconds it. All right. Any additions or deletions? All right. All those in favor of approving the board meeting minutes from March the 14th, 2026, raise your hand. All right. Any opposed? It is 9-0. All right. Okay. Next order of business would be our financial update. Dan Bessie. And I think we're far enough, hopefully, that you can see that back there.
All right, thank you, Nancy. Had a couple notable achievements this month. At here, the top line, revenue was up $42,000. A lot of that had to do with the lodge. So we continue to see great improvement in lodge revenue, which is tremendous. A little bit higher on expenses. Some of that we'll talk about was golf, and that might be a one-time type item. But overall, as you can see, net revenue or income, $28,000 to the positive, $44,000 to the positive so far this year. Scott, can we move to the next slide? Thank you. As you can tell, I just said lodge, food and beverage up 30 grand, other revenue up 20 grand. That most of that was a one lot constitution fee. So more than half of that $20,000. So that obviously helps, but obviously that's a one-time item, and then just a little couple pieces here and there were a little bit lower than we anticipated. On the expense side, on the next slide, Scott, a little bit higher on public works. And you can see a little bit higher. Well, you probably can't see. On the very bottom is the golf. It's up about $10,000 over on expenses. And of that, about $6,000 was salary and benefits. So we just need to figure out, is that at one point in time thing since it didn't pop last month, or is that some sort of trend going forward? The balance is pretty stable on all the balances that we have out there. If you look on the top right on delinquencies, it's made a noticeable change for a couple reasons. There's actually 14 fewer total delinquencies this month from last month. And you could, there was a couple bigger ones that were in the 90+ day range that came off. So the total decrease of about $19,000. Initiation fee, pretty much on track. Interest earned, pretty much on track. So we're in good shape there. $300,000 in operating cash. So that's what the POA has to spend. That's in the bank. And then you have $5.5 million that are allocated to different items. So be it the asset management reserve fund, the lake management reserve fund, the golf course reserve fund, those monies can only be spent on those items. Other things like security deposits that only they're being held so that we can pay them back when the person leaves their rental. We do have about $500,000 in Par 3 donations that are being held by the POA that's for maintenance that only can be spent on the Par 3. And then we just said we're picking up a little bit of initiation fee money. And that will be determined how we want to spend it when we do the budgeting process in November, December. So that will be allocated to whatever the priority is for 2027. So when you get to look at $5.8 million, you're like, wow. But really, $5.5 million of that is allocated towards things that, it's earmarked towards specific things, so we can't just use that money for anything. Next slide. Just going to roll through that. You can see Crystal has done a nice job over last year breaking out all the accounts so you can see clearly what's ARF, what's CARF, what's golf course reserve fund, etc. So it's all allocated out there. You can see how it changes month to month. Same on the next slide is really how the money's invested. You can see that Crystal has done more investing in treasury bills to get us a little bit more income and a little bit more flexibility. So as you guys know, treasuries are something that you can hold to maturity or you can buy and sell them without a penalty. If you buy a CD, if you need to cash it out for whatever reason, there's usually a penalty attached. So this one works in our favor. And then changing gears, there's a couple slides here. I keep getting questions about why dues go up. Why can't we use reserve funds to offset dues? And really not understanding how inflation works. So this I put together because a couple of people said, well, inflation's down, Dan, so why is our dues and cost still going up? And I guess the key point here is when someone says inflation is lower, it doesn't mean prices have necessarily gone down. It just means the increase in prices has slowed down. So, and it's not the same. If you look at the consumer price index, there's dozens of averages and averages of averages in there. So when you pull some of that out, some hit home a little bit more. So, just on this slide over the last year across the US, yes, all items last year across the US was an increase of 2.5%, 2.4%. But if you're looking at things that hit us, food, in restaurants, electricity, natural gas, some of these other things, shelter, your house, they have gone up noticeably faster and they're offset by different costs. Last year here in Texas, the inflation was pretty flat. And a lot of that was because gas prices have, dropped significantly over the last year. So can you go to the next slide? So I put this slide together a little while ago and things have changed a little bit. But basically, for us, it's really kind of continuing that same thing. We still have inflation in our environment overall in the US, and that impacts us in a lot of different ways. So we talk about 6.22 as a potential 30-year mortgage. I think right now that's probably closer to 6.5. So that impacts what we do. The Fed's fund rate impacts how much our personal, interests are on credit cards and any other kind of debt. And the last slide, Scott. So, when I looked at this, obviously in the last week or two, things have changed a lot in our environment, and oil has gone up dramatically. And this slide says $94 for Brent crude, which is crude coming from the North Sea. I think that when I looked at it this morning, it peaked at $112 a barrel. This is $3.58 a gallon for gasoline. I know I paid $3.78 earlier this morning, so maybe I chose the wrong place, but that's definitely a problem. So, with everything going on in the Middle East, we're still adding money to our cost through the different tariffs. No matter if they're up, down, sideways, there's still more. So you can definitely see that we're having this kind of impact. So to me, I think the inflation rate in the short term is going up, not down. So we were very lucky last year to have very little inflation in North Texas, but I don't believe that's going to be the case over the next few months at least. So it impacts you as members, it impacts, the POA, since the POA has to buy water, electricity, insurance, everything that you guys need to do as well. So that's my not so great news, but I just continue to try to help people understand that, we can't offset dues with reserve funds, and that just because inflation has gone down doesn't mean that costs have gone down that dramatically. So if inflation goes down by 5%, it doesn't mean prices have gone down 5%. It means the rate of increase is going down by 5%. So that's your economics 101 for today. Thank you. Rick, you have a question? Use your microphone.
At the beginning of the year, the Fed was predicting somewhere between 3 and 4 rate cuts in 2026. And then over what has happened over the last couple of months, and if you saw what Powell said at the meeting last week, now they're predicting possibly 1 rate cut, and that would be sometime in the fourth quarter earliest. And it's because inflation is starting to go back up because of what's going on in the economy. So everything that Dan has talked about, I mean, it's continuing to roll in effect. So, I appreciate everything you put together and said, because it just continues to be very fluid with what's going on in the economy.
Absolutely. Any other questions, thoughts? All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. All right, moving on, we're going to go. There are no, the next order of business would be regular committee changes. I don't have any committee changes at this point in time. The next order of business on there would be updating and taking action on the ad hoc watercraft lake rule committee. And so I've given you additional names. And so that would be as of today, that's the last on the committee. I think there are 16 people that are on there. They will be meeting later this week on Wednesday for their first meeting, sort of organize and figure out sort of what their process will be. And at that time, we'll give them what their charge is and going back and looking at the watercraft and lake rules, seeing if we can bring those up to date and be more in line with not only where we are today, but to be safer on the lake as well as maintain the lake, as well as allowing people to enjoy it. And so that's sort of going to be their charge, and to bring them up to date where it's a little more appropriate to what boats are today too. Cecil.
Nancy, the list that I see, and we've had a conversation, and there was an incident that occurred on the lake this weekend. There's one name on there that I would adamantly please ask to have removed due to an impending investigation on a serious watercraft violation. Not everyone on the board is aware of it, but myself and Ronnie Phillips were in a fishing tournament and just about got capsized by a boat. And the owner of that boat is one of the names that's on this ad hoc committee list. So until I guess I'd be okay if it's absolved, but if it's owned by one of the people that is listed as a potential member on this list.
Right.
It would be appropriate to say that name out loud.
It is not.
No, it is not.
It is not, and nor will we make that correction yet because it is in the investigation, if I understand correctly. Okay. All right. So at this point in time, the list will stand as is. We will address some of those other issues later, but yes, sir.
Separate question.
Mm-hmm.
People ask me to be on this list, and I think we're getting too big at this point. Is 16 kind of your number where you want to keep it so I can iterate that?
Yes, I would say, I mean, we added a couple more just because they were on the very first list. But yes, I wouldn't go any more than that unless somebody drops off. And so then they can be people that we keep the names and we can add them in if we need to. So that would be my recommendation. At that point in time, you get a little too unwieldy in there. So, yeah. Okay. So just tell them that I guess they can be a sub. So, or something like that. All right. Any other questions about the list? Yes.
My understanding, if we're putting together an ad hoc committee, the first name on the list is the chair until the board gets, or the committee gets a chance to.
Yes, that would be true.
Okay.
That would be true. They start the meeting technically. All right. Any other questions? No? Is there a motion to approve these? Chris and John seconds it. So you have to be faster than Chris. So I can tell you that. You're learning. So any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of approving these people, raise your hand. All right. Any opposed? All right. It is 9-0 and the names on the list shall be approved. And we will move forward from there. All right, next item of business on the agenda is the Lake Kiowa Vision, Mission, Values Committee. Dan Bessie?
Great, thank you again. So last month we came to the board, presented the vision, mission, and values, talked about the process, all the steps we did, the work that was done, the great work done by the committee members. The board approved the wording of the vision, mission, and values at the last meeting. We then decided to send it out to the community to get feedback from community members. We sent it out twice. Well, the royal we, Rich, Kendall, the POA sent it out twice. And I was the contact person for any kind of comments. I got a grand total of 0 comments. So I take that as a good sign. So we can question that, but take that as a good sign. So I'm here today to make sure to ask the board to formally adopt the vision, mission, value as it is, and then if that happens, to disband the existing ad hoc committee that worked over the last year to put this together.
Is that a motion?
I so move that the board formally adopts the Lake Kiowa vision, mission, and values.
Okay. And Chris seconds it. Dan made a motion. So is any additions or deletions or discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hand. And those opposed? Ronnie, you're opposed, or you just slow getting up there? Slow, yes, okay. It is 9-0, Kendall, and you have approved the Lake Kiowa vision and mission and value statements.
So then I move to disband the ad hoc committee.
Okay, is there a second? I'm Dylan. Thank you. All right, so Dan has moved to disband and discharge. They've done a great job, and so we say thank you to those members that were out there. Amy and
Amy Hall, Mike Demarest, Bob Hyde,
Bob.
and Sandy Hare. They all did great work. Bob and Mike were the glue that kept us together. Sandy got us started in a bright path, and Amy helped us push across the finish line. So everyone had their role, and it worked out really well. A lot of hours, a lot of time.
Okay, awesome. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of discharging that committee, raise your hand. Those opposed? The ayes have it, and that committee has been royally discharged and appreciated very, very much. So
the last component is we had a discussion, how do we syndicate or communicate the vision, mission, values now that they're formally adopted? So we had a 3-part plan. One is to get something in constant contact this Friday, short message with vision, mission, values attached, a broader article for the May communique, and then also looking at to do a combined town hall for the vision, mission, values, and an update from the latest member satisfaction survey. The target date for that we've picked so far is April 25th. That's the same day as the Kiwanis barbecue, but we'd make sure that we do the town hall meeting in a way that make it easy for people. If they want to do both, they could.
So do it earlier?
Do it before, since the
Okay.
barbecue's 5 to 8. Probably 9 o'clock Saturday night meeting might not go over too well, but maybe. But in any case, yeah, we haven't picked the exact time. Maybe 4 o'clock, so people can come do this and go right to the barbecue, or do it more midday so people can come to a town hall, go home, and then get recharged for the barbecue. So we'll follow up. So I don't think we need a vote on that as a plan, but I just wanted to share and make sure there's no questions or comments.
I think we did before some town hall meetings. I think we approved some of those as meetings, did we not?
No.
They're not meetings, they're
Right.
town halls, so.
So I then motion that we create, we have approved a town hall combined vision, mission, values, and member sat on the afternoon of April 25th here at the lodge.
Is there a second? And Ronnie seconds it. All right. Is there any other discussion?
People do have a chance to get back to barbecue. Makes sense. Absolutely. So yeah, we'll pick the time and we'll work with whoever to make sure we pick the optimal time to allow people to do both if they want to.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of holding a town hall meeting on April the 25th, raise your hand. All right. Those opposed? Motion passes in the town hall on April the 25th for, you're going to do other stuff or just mission vision
And member sat.
in the member? Okay, in the
For
survey.
the
Okay.
February member satisfaction survey.
Okay, great. Okay. Sounds good. You got that, Kendall? Then that, all right, thank you. Dan, it's the Dan and Rich show here now on the member satisfaction survey. We're going to share some of that.
Yes, I'll start off. Whole month of February and actually 1 month into March, we ran the second member satisfaction survey. We're doing them semi-annually. One in approximately August, the other one in February. So this is the second one. So it continued on the first one. So the survey results basically reflect, what the members think, their perceptions, their priorities, and it's intended to inform the board on how they vote regarding the planning and communication, and how do we continuously improve the community. Just a 30,000 foot high level summary. Overall satisfaction remained very high. We were over 90% again. Net promoter score basically unchanged, 35, 36 from both of them. Members continue to value our community as a whole, the feeling of community, safety, security is always high on the list, and the lifestyle and the amenities that we have here at Lake Kiowa.
Rick, let's just go back on the overall side. Just make sure I heard the right number. It's about 95% of the people responded that they're very satisfied. So
well over 90%.
Yeah, so almost 19 out of 20 people responded that way.
Okay, so what do members want? More confidence in softening and the trust in the board, PO decision making that needs improvement. Financial stewardship and execution of projects was another item that was mentioned a lot. And then members want greater clarity on priorities and follow through on everything that we do. Bottom line, survey shows continued strength in member living experience alongside clear expectations for stronger board leadership, stewardship, and communication transparency. Just some of what we focused on was protect what we are good at, and the basics, trying to improve the roads, lake condition, upkeep all the common areas and facilities like the East Beach. Strengthen our stewardship again, and discipline with our financial spending decisions, project oversight, contract the process, credibility of clear expectations and major decisions. Excuse me. Continue to use affordability as a filter. Many members are sensitive to rising total household costs, as we mentioned with inflation, raising in dues, and included POA-related costs. Build confidence through clarity and follow-through. Have more consistent communication, transparency, clear priorities. Show the progress in all our projects that we do, and update the community and have fairness across the community. Bottom line, message is not do more, message is to do the right things well, visibly, and fairly. Anything else you want to add, Dan? We have like a one pager if you want to go over the numbers.
Yeah, so in the package, there's a lot more detail. I think the only other piece that I would highlight is the security. For the first time, well, as part of the process, we go deeper on different parts of the community. In the summer, we did lake, golf, and lodge. We got feedback on that. This time, we went deeper on security, public works, and board governance. And we'll continue that cadence. So at least once a year, the people that are working in those areas can get more information about their areas. Doesn't mean that people won't share it everywhere. And this is one of the things we learned, that people will answer the same way regardless of what questions are asked, but that's good if that's what's important. So there's a long way around to say the scores for security were really strong. Around overall satisfaction with security being, professional, courteous, etc. So I thought that was very encouraging. We hear noises around the edges, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to ask very specific, direct questions in the survey to get at feedback. And what do people really think? So I give Melanie and her team a lot of props for that. The only other thing I would mention is that the response rate this time was much lower than last summer. So some of that I think has to do that this survey was competing with the bylaw and board votes, and we didn't really coordinate that. We kind of sent out messages at the same time. So I think there's a lesson learned, for next winter that we need to coordinate the messaging around the satisfaction survey with the other surveys so people, or the other voting, so people can understand that there's multiple things we're asking them to do at the same time, or tweak it and move it a month or something one way or the other. So there's not any competition. So any other questions or comment by the board members on this? There's a ton of detail. Rich and I have drafted the town hall. I think Nancy's seen it. So happy to share that when it gets one more step finalized. My thought was to put these pages that you just saw on the screen in constant contact this week as well, just to get some immediate follow-up out there and start to get some verification for the members that this is truly what they said.
Okay. Sounds good. All right.
One thing for me, a real disappointment was the drop in participation. I mean, it was drastic. I mean, and trying to get this community to tell us, and not get just segmented groups, those that are here that are really happy and those that got something they got to burn their saddle on, but everybody that cares about living here and what it means to be a Kiowa community and what do we need to improve on.
Well, I totally agree. We need to continue. I mean, last summer we got compared to the other surveys we do, we got a really good response. I mean, for any survey, we've never gotten above 50%, I don't think, at least in my lifetime at Kiowa. So hopefully we can get closer to 50% next time we go through this.
I think you do see trends over the years, in certain bigger areas or bigger chunks, if you will. So, but they may not be very specific, I would say, when you start drilling down. All right, moving on. The next item on the agenda is the golf committee. And I think Ronnie has your name on there.
I think it is. We went back to the golf committee as requested by the board, and we looked at the changes. Our primary goal was to make the charter consistent with our bylaws, and we made that change. Instead of mandating, subject to later approval, who the members would be, we have changed the language to request that the president of the Lake Kiowa POA Board of Directors appoint the people who hold the following positions, and those are the same positions except for the addition of the Par 3 Association chairman for the committee that we removed, and I believe that was the Greens ad hoc committee. And so we unanimously voted to submit this to the board. It provides that, just as it did before, that it's at least 7 members, and that the board, the president, or anyone else in the committee or in the community can ask to join that committee. And we've anticipated that we could be efficient with as many as 12 members. We have 2 other members now that are just general representative members. And I'd make a motion that we approve the Lake Kiowa Golf Committee charter as submitted.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the Lake Kiowa Golf Committee charter. Is there any other discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of accepting that, raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. The motion carries, and you now approve the golf committee charter. So thank you very much for the golf committee and Ronnie to go back and work on that to make sure it's consistent. So thank you very much. All right, next on our agenda is rules, and I believe that is George on. Is that correct?
Okay, the Rules Committee was challenged with better defining and clarifying verbal or physical abuse. And we thought, and this board thought that it should separate sexual harassment from physical or verbal abuse is what we have done. And most of this information came as recommendations from the board. You have in your packet what the committee approved and will submit to you for approval here and for member approval. This is going to be an added rule to clarify more specifically sexual harassment and separate it from the verbal or physical abuse. Was kind of broad. Any questions?
Yeah, I just had one, and it had to do with the penalty. And we jumped from the $500 fine on one and the 60-day suspension all the way to 100-day suspension on the second one.
We think it's a really critical abuse, and it should be dealt with escalating penalties as a deterrent.
Oh, I agree with that. I was just wondering with I'll call it the denomination, that it went from 60 all the way to 180 instead.
And that was part of the discussion. Was that wasn't, I mean, that was intentional. It was thought about. I mean, if this group wants to change it, that's fine. I think one of the drafts had the second one even longer than 180, and we got pulled down. So to me, if you do this more than once, I mean, you do it once, it's horrible. You do it more than once, you deserve, in my opinion, to get hit pretty hard. So that's where, obviously it's not just me, but that was the discussion. So if you guys want to change it to a different number, that's fine, but that's where it came from.
For me, it would be not that way, but is the 62 lenient in the first one?
What did we have this at? And then what was the fine for physical abuse? Do you remember first and second offenses? It's been so long since I've looked at this. I tried looking up on my phone and
I think in this one, you also added the POA employees too, so. Mhm.
Dylan, for your question, it's a major infraction. First violation was a $150 fine. Second violation was a $200 fine. Third violation, $400 fine and a 60-day suspension. Each further violation, $500 fine and up to 90-day suspension. So by separating it, that rule, that physical, and verbal abuse was just so broad. Not that we've had a lot of sexual harassment. There have been some cases of it. And it fell under what committee members here and the Rules Committee thought was, well, maybe the penalties weren't serious enough to deter these people from their action. So does that answer your question?
on that piece, yes. And then my second thing that I brought up, again, I know this has been months ago, was just that goes both ways. If a POA staff member does something to a member, and it just references the employee handbook, and I think our employee handbook we discussed needing to be looked at. So it's hard for me to, again, I know I am a member, but it's hard to me to punish a member worse than a POA staff. It should be the same.
It can't be the same, right? Because the
same level,
right?
We can't fire a member,
but there has been a draft for the employee handbook. I think it's going to James to look at, and the punishment is up to and including termination. So obviously no monetary penalties or things like that, but it's the language is very similar, but the draft is in keeping with how the rest of the handbook is done. So that will be done so that, from all sides, we're consistent on that, because I agree with you 100%. To me, one of the reasons why I've been active on this one is, well, one, it's horrible, but two, the liability that this could create if we're not specific about what we're, what's improper, to me would be, really hard if we're in a court case and it says, oh, Kiowa doesn't prohibit me from doing this, so I guess it's okay. Not, I'm exaggerating for effect, but, that's part of the reason to also do this both here and in the employee handbook.
And does this reset every 12 months?
The rule itself?
No, the fine.
Oh, the penalties, yeah.
No different than anything else?
Correct.
We don't reference that in any rule though specifically, do we? It just reference that it's resets, right? Correct. That's all. That's the questions I had.
I've got a question real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
Training?
Employee training? I'll refer to our community manager for that.
Specifically in there. I mean, for the penalty for that, it basically says up to termination, basically written up penalties termination. We do have further in the handbook for, different kinds of, alcohol abuse, but it's not specific to that.
I was just, my company, we were involved in lots of sexual harassment stuff before all the rules and everything got straightened out. And that was one of the first questions we always got asked in court was what kind of training do we provide to our people? So
We would not have training for members, but we would for the staff.
yeah.
Separate handbook.
Oh, no, we could nominate. So I would also ask, we do have staff members that live here. So which penalty do they fall under? And so just think about that one. So I hear you. I'm just saying that would be something that as we look at the employee handbook, we make sure that we designate what that is.
To me, it's both, and we should be clear on that, right? So if you're a member and someone that works here and you do something stupid, you fall on both categories. So you get a penalty, a fine, a suspension, and maybe lose your job. You can clarify that in the handbook update.
Right. I know. I'm asking. I see your hand, Mark. Hold on. Anybody else have a comment? Anybody else on the board? Question about that? All right, Mark, I'll let you to no longer than 2 minutes and say who you are.
Mark Lundgren, lot 1570. So is there a defined definition of what entails sexual harassment? Is that?
Yes, sir. That's in the new rule.
Okay.
There's a definition as well as examples.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good. Okay. Thanks.
Good question. Thank you. All right. Any other question, comment? Is there a motion to approve this so that it can go out to our members for consideration?
I make a motion to approve this as written to go out to the members for their comment.
All right. Dan and Chris seconds it. Any other discussion? All those in favor of sending this 3.3.1.13A, prohibition of sexual harassment, as well as the penalty, which is 3.2.7.B2 specific rule. All those in favor of sending that to the members for comment for at least a 30-day review, raise your hand. All right. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and 9-0, we will send that out for member review for at least 30 days. So
I specifically abstained because I just made a hard press on I wanted it to match an employee handbook. So I don't feel that it's right till the handbook is fixed.
I'm sorry. I thought your hand went up. So, okay. All right. 8-0 then, one abstention, or 8-1, 8-0, one abstention. I'll get it right. All right.
Two things. So we got a month to try to finalize it. I know we've been working on it for a while now. But the last thing is I want to say thank you to George and the Rules Committee. The diligence and persistence is very much appreciated. This is probably 10, 12 months in the making to get to where we are here. So it's a difficult topic, complicated topic. So I appreciate all the work that they've done.
Needed, I mean, a hard stance on and the employee handbook needed fixed at the same time.
Okay, thank you, Dylan. Would you put that on the list of our, we said we were going to keep a list of action items to do. We could put that on there for us. Thank you. All right. Moving forward, message boards, I believe, is the next thing on the list. Rich, you had that?
Yes, I do. Message boards, like the one pictured here, and we have one at the east gate that's not as nice, just a frame board. We had brought to the board's attention previous month to upgrade those boards and put in new boards. They're well past their date. Software is no longer usable. The proposal was, and you have the new board members you have in your packet, was over $50,000 was the proposal, and they were upgraded boards. Was sent to the community to get the community's feedback. Do they want to spend a large sum of money on new boards, or are the boards not really necessary at all, and to eliminate the boards? We actually had a very good response on the survey. We had 363 people respond. It was basically 2-1 against keeping the boards, and basically to disband them and get rid of them was the answer to this question. Now, again, that was for what we proposed as over $50,000 for 2 new display boards. People sent in different examples, and you could basically get color LED boards it would still be over $30,000 for 2 new boards about that size, color, different degrees of abilities, different software. I'd have to get some demonstrations to see how some of those work, but if the board wants to or pursue that, to look up an alternative, maybe get it down to just over $30,000 for the new boards, and come back with another proposal? Or is that just, would you feel that's still just too high of a price to pay?
Any feedback from the board on his question? Ronnie?
I think that the answer we've gotten of the limited survey is important. I also think that that $50,000 can be applied to something a lot more efficient and beneficial than, I know at the front gate, you have time to stop and read sometimes just for a moment. At the east gate, sometimes we have a lot of time to read because it's frequently broken. And maybe $50,000 would upgrade that a little bit.
And if it's not broken.
So the other
minutes.
thought that I got actually from a member was, instead of doing the message board at the gates where you're trying to get through quickly, is there an opportunity to do a message board somewhere around the lodge, like outside, not necessarily, the suggestion was outside, not inside, since you can have time to stop and read and do whatever. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but just something I hadn't thought about, since if we're thinking that you don't really have time to read it, if you're driving through, is that another option? Because I agree $50,000 is a lot of money, but I also feel like we try to do so much communication, and sometimes that just doesn't seem to work. So to pull every single lever to get as much information shared, maybe there's an option. And if we do 1 board versus 2 at the gates, is that noticeably cheaper or not? So I just throw it out there for comment. I haven't really thought it through, but that was a suggestion I got.
Was there be a location on the east side anywhere? Just
at the lodge somewhere. I mean, obviously it could be big and garish and kind of, look like an event center. But that's probably not what we're trying to do.
There was I thought the decent proposal at that last meeting that we had with the Nancy Rich show on the evening, that somebody proposed, well, why don't we find some sponsorships? That seems to be the way of the future. Anyway, so it's something to explore.
Certainly.
If we want to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We've already got constant contact, and we've already got their communique. You have a mic?
Oh, sorry. I'd like to thank all the little people. No. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's if the people that don't want to read it on their phones or their laptops, constant contact, which I love that because every day I get something new. And then on the communique, it's just like duplicating efforts and it's 50 grand. That's a lot of effort to duplicate, my opinion.
Mhm.
Yes, bingo. Yeah.
I don't know. Go
Just
ahead.
a little more detail. So Rich, of the number of people in the community, how many people do you think have signed up for or get constant contact?
Kendall, what's our
Like,
general number?
90%? So,
That's
1,400
and
1,400 on constant contact? Yes.
so is that, but that's multiple people per lot, right?
1,467 lots.
Yeah, so you could have 2,800 people and 1,400 people are signed up. And then what's the open rate on constant contact on average? 50, 60%. So, I mean, I love constant contact, don't get me wrong. I wish we could get more people to open it and read it. So I'm just throwing it out there that, there's a number of people that are super diligent. I mean, there's people that read, communicate before it even gets in their mailbox. They run to look at it online, which is great. So, but that's certainly not the vast majority of folks. So I don't know. I struggle with this, as you can tell. So I agree. It's a lot of money. Bottom line.
I'm a no, so I don't know if we want to table this and maybe look at other options, but I'm a no for the message boards redoing, tearing down, fixing, all the above. So I move that we do not spend the money. I move that we table this discussion for now and do not spend the money on message boards at the front or east gate.
Second that.
All right. And there's a second. And so the motion is to table the discussion at this time on the message boards on the east and the west gate. Is that correct? All right. Is there any discussion to that? All right. All those in favor of that, raise your hand. Okay. And those opposed? I'll raise mine. And so the ayes have it. We will table that at this time. If we choose to later on, then we can come back to that and we can look for additional cost and different options and things like that. So I would be open to them, whatever they are, I mean, you should be open to them, whatever they are, to see if there's anything worth looking at. All right.
With that, I assume we're not just going to demolish them. The east one still works. The front one's fine for now. We're redoing the whole front entrance as part of the reason I don't think we need the front one fixed right now. I mentioned that in the last meeting. So I did not recommend going ahead with a skid steer into them, but that's just tabled for now.
They still operate and we can put the date and time on them in that, right? So, right. So, as long as they still operate. Okay. Next thing on the agenda is pickleball courts project update. It'll be Jim, Fox, and Rich.
All right. Well, thank you. So we got asked a few questions of Sports King this morning, got back some answers and enough answers where I was able to send out a second, get another one out today. So we're trying to provide some updates as regularly as we can right now. We saw one that was put in constant contact before. And basically we're in the process right now of they are doing what they call shop drawings for the actual tendons and the forming process for the slabs. So there's an engineer that's going to oversee those and approve those shop drawings. So in other words, there's something for the contractor, the guy that's doing the dirt and the concrete work, to be able to work from now that they know exactly what that is. So that's what we're waiting on at the moment. They still are projecting Thursday or Friday to be out here, assuming all of that the drawings get done and the engineers able to approve that. So we'll see some action out there, and they'll begin some more forming out there the end of the week. And we just put a little bit information in there too. These are called post-tension slabs. And so put a little educational information in there related to why these tendons and what we're doing out there is beneficial for this. And the bottom line is, as opposed to typical reinforced concrete, the post-tension helps reduce cracking. But there's many other benefits, and you can read about that in the constant contact.
Question. So if by noon on Friday we haven't seen anyone out here, will there be a phone call asking someone?
I'm sure there will be.
There you go. I'm sure you're tired of me hearing of this, but vapor barriers. There's nothing in anything that came out in our packet about when they're going to apply that vapor barrier. I assume it goes down on top of the dirt, and then the steel post-tension slab goes in. Am I correct?
That would be
Okay.
correct. It'd be really hard to put it in once you
Well, that's my thing. There was nothing that said anything about a vapor barrier, and I keep harping on this because that's what's killed the tennis courts.
There is a vapor barrier. The engineering plans that were done by their Bluebonnet engineers for them calls for a vapor barrier of a minimum of a 0.6 mil.
Right.
There's been some information that says it'll even be a little thicker than that. So it's in there, and we'll stop the project if it's not applied. So
okay. Yeah, I just Googled on this, and does a pickleball court need a vapor barrier? And it just said, yes, concrete pickleball slabs should have a vapor barrier, particularly to prevent moisture from traveling up through the concrete, which can cause acrylic surfaces coatings to bubble, peel, and delaminate. A 10 mil or thicker polyethylene vapor barrier is recommended. Anyway, I'm not an engineer. They're doing this. I just want to make sure it's done.
It's in there, and we've talked about it. Okay. So yes, sir. Any other questions on pickleball?
Did we send out, I know you worked on a revised schedule, taking all of their information and trying to go through and sift it out, if you will.
That is still the same information that you've had. We got a Dropbox folder that had information in it. They have a schedule in there. I can post that if you want. It's very similar to what we've had. It's a little hard to read because of the colors and the little fine print, but we could put that out.
Just asking if we've got anything different than what we had before. No,
not really. I mean, it's all, again, the bottom line is that their substantial completion is looking to be somewhere at the early part of June. That's when they're through. We would we're likely going to put in some irrigation for around the slab, some drip or something to help maintain moisture around that, again, to help protect that in the long term. That's a POA project. Furniture, site amenities, trash barrels, that sort of thing. They've all got to get, assembled and put in there and that sort of thing. So there may be a period of time after they are substantially complete, the site's cleaned up, all of those things before we could actually do a grand opening. So that's why I think mid to late June, based on the schedule we have right now, they're only looking at their particular completion date in their schedule.
Okay. Thanks, Jim.
Jim, one other thing. Have we received a list from the contractor showing what has been spent on the project and how much money out of the $170,000 is still left?
They have provided some information. It's not satisfactory in my mind right now. We have some invoices, we have some estimates, we have some proposals that they have shown us of what they're planning to spend, but they're not a receipt per se. So we will be getting that, and I've made it very clear in some communication that if you want another draw, you're going to have to show that you have spent most of that $170,000 that we provided already.
So I know we asked for that when you and I were at the last meeting, the first meeting we had out there several months ago.
It appears that they have not spent anywhere close to the $170,000, and maybe they have, but they haven't proven it yet. And so that they know they're going to need to provide better documentation for us to approve that next draw.
And just so we know that none of that money will get released until the treasurer looks at it and we know that we are ready to go with it. So nothing goes out until then.
That was clearly put in some written communication this morning, as a matter of fact.
Good deal. Thank you. Any other questions for Jim? Thanks, Jim. All right. Next item of business is the front entrance update. That's Jim and Rich.
I'll keep rolling. This will be really quick. So yeah, here's a good update really on that. Of course, we bid the process in late December. I say Bluestone actually did the bidding process. We had a bid that came in about over $550,000. We went through the first value engineering revisions, and the rebid was about $537,000, which Rich shared with you, I believe, at the last meeting. You'd asked us to take a look at combining the guard hut and the guard house into one footprint. We did that. We had a meeting with Bluestone March 19th, and they quickly put together some plans for that. And I'll show you here in a minute what it looks like. Can you go back to the first slide? Yeah, just and then so we'll look at the renderings here too and everything in just a second. But so we've got sent some more information today, a couple of really minor comments about the plan that they had submitted to us. They asked what the next step is for them. We believe we will be getting together with Bluestone and Foster to actually go through and discuss that final plan so that Foster can actually revise their bid and get us some information as soon as possible. Obviously, we have to evaluate that and could go back to the front entrance committee and with information if we need to on that, and develop a recommendation coming back to the board on that. If it's within striking distance and we can afford to do that, then we would need to also look at entering into another phase with Bluestone to manage the construction of this. So go ahead and if you can, Scott, just so. Again, I just wanted to kind of represent here that, these are actually updated plans. They put in all of the things that we asked them to do on this. Their architect's been very responsive here the last few weeks with that. So one more, I think. Yeah, there's some elevations. They don't show very well, but we've got the windows in there. Melanie and the staff was very interested in having enough visibility out where they sit and do the monitors. So we've got that put in there. I think that's about it. Yeah, just a kind of a perspective, give you an idea of what material selection, again, will be part of the choices that the contractor would allow us to go to the place where they buy their stone and say, which ones do you want? So this is just an artist rendering and not necessarily what it would look like. One more, I think. We do have, and there's a couple more on there. So again, just looking at the inside, again, it's a kind of a rough idea. The chief can see through her office out to the window. This is something that we don't have now, and that's a decent locker area, a little kitchenette type of thing, and a break area. Could serve as a situation room too if we had, a disaster of some sort. So, all right. Any questions on that?
Today, we don't think we would use what I'm going to call that trap area. In what scenario would we not have a security guard in the future? What if a visitor comes in the middle of the night, I think what it was designed for, or a member that does not have a toll tag? How would they get in?
Well, that's part of the technology question, I think, Dylan, that we've at the front entrance committee we've talked about, and is could there be other types of technology where they could make contact if we were not manned? Right now, there's no intent to go to anything less than 24/7. Again, down the road, maybe, we could do that. So we'd have to figure out a technology solution probably to doing that. If there's patrol still, patrol could be notified and come up to the front gate to let people in. Those are logistics that we haven't talked about. The building is 756 square feet. Yes, sir. That's what's being proposed right now. There's a lot to it besides just the building, but the square footage costs are high. So
Yeah, I would just suggest let's relax on the trap area for right now is my only comment, and that I've heard. Just stub conduit out. Don't think we may need it. Yes. Okay.
That's what we're doing.
No second gate.
They're basically at the initial construction, there would be 2 gates just like there is now.
Okay.
And so what did you say your timeline was to go back to Bluestone to get the information for Foster?
I hope we can have a meeting this week, or at least talk on the phone. Rich and I could get on the phone and talk through them and get going. I suspect that they'll want to sit down with the contractor, and it'd be better to have a face-to-face meeting as soon as we can right now to get that accomplished.
Sooner better than later.
Yes.
Okay.
They're fairly small comments, so hopefully it'll be very.
Yeah.
Jim, I think the last couple of weeks, you and Rich have been working to try to consolidate a method to divide up the responsibility for the various projects and who's handling what and how you're moving forward on them. Do you think we're looking at a better process going forward? I know y'all have put a lot of work into that.
Well, Rich and I have talked some about how to clarify a little bit of that. And, I mean, there are some things as a contractual employee, when we get into financials or legal matters, it's most appropriate for him to be involved. I will do what I can to help lighten his load so that he can be the face of the community and not be as engaged in those details, I guess, with the project. I try to share everything with him, whether he has a chance to look at it or not, it's a whole other story, but we've got it, I think, worked out with what we're doing. And Rich, you can comment on that too if you're so inclined. Anything else in the front entrance?
Any other questions? Nope. All right. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. All right. Moving to the community manager report. Rich, I think the very first one on your agenda there is the copy machine.
All right. Community manager report. First thing I have in there is funding requests. And I'll get back to the carve sheet later. The first thing talk about, and this came up previously, was the copier printer for the POA admin building. Previously, we have a 5-year lease. It was, financed out, and we had a 5-year service agreement. I've gone back, reviewed a couple other printers. We do want to stay with this printer, same one that we currently have. The purchase agreement is the $18,442.65, including tax and everything. That currently was in the budget as a lease, so it would be purchased, have to go into as a CARF purchase, and then we'll move it over to the ARF reserve fund for future replacement. Also have the service agreement revised, so it's a 1-year term, 30-day out. And I believe we had all the other, I think James reviewed that and put some of that language in there for the 30-day termination. And that is the request to approve the funds for a new printer under using CAR funds and 1-year term on the service agreement.
Do you know when it would go into place?
It would basically go into place immediately as soon as we can get the printer. We have the current one, so it's a matter of just swapping it out. The current one is continuing to run until we get the replacement, and then it'll just swap out.
Okay. All right.
And the logic between purchase versus lease, just help me with that.
When we talked about the lease, I think it was, we're paying for the financing on it, and right now you're purchasing for $18,000. I think the 5-year payment, if you extrapolate it out, was over $26,000. So we're saving about $8,000 on interest. And also the other biggest issue was tying the purchase or the lease to the machine and a 5-year term on the service agreement was also the major issue. This way we're purchasing, we're saving on the finance and actually reducing the term on the service agreement.
The service agreement is for 1 year on current, but you can renew it every year, right?
No, the current one that we have right now that we were renewing was a 5-year term.
The new one.
The
You're
new
gonna
one's a
do
1 year.
and
Right.
you can choose to renew it.
It's actually like an automatic renewal. You get a 30-day notice to get out.
That's what I thought.
Well, the current one's leased.
Okay. Any other questions for him? Is there a motion to approve that 18,000? Ronnie? Chris gets the second. All right. The motion before you is to approve the sum of 18,442.65 for the purchase of that Xerox copier. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right. Any opposed? You have it 9-0. You are approved to get a new copy machine.
All right. Thank you. Next one, I'll let Scott handle. It has to do with the CCTV cameras here at the lodge.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. So real quick, can you guys hear me okay? I'm good. A little hit back history on our lodge cameras. We originally changed out the entire system back in 2016 or 17 when we first renovated the lodge. And we had recabled the whole system with basically we call it an RG59 coax. This was very similar to your cable TV, but and then just back in 2020, we replaced a 32 channel DVR back in 2020, and since we installed it, it's been pretty much operating 24/7 to this day. The current system right now is still operating, is still recording. However, our remote software is no longer able to connect with it. We believe that the integrated network adapter, I promise I won't geek out here on this, but the network adapter is having some issues. That's one of the issues. We currently have 9 locations of other DVRs. 8 of those locations are the upgraded IP cameras, digital, work really well. All of our current DVR systems are all remote accessible, especially with Melanie's team. They got a fancy 65-inch, so they can pull cameras just about everywhere, except for the lodge. We did have an incident a couple Sundays ago. We had to actually come here on site and run the playback, and that was kind of a challenge as well. During one of the playbacks, the system actually rebooted itself. So I think we're at the end of life of this current system. The other issue is they no longer make the current DVR that we have. So that creates a challenge replacing another 32 channel that would be actually compatible with all the cameras that we have. And some of the cameras date back from 2017, and there's a few new ones that I've installed. And just recently, I've tried to repair a couple of the replacing some of the cameras that we have. There's 2 of them that are currently out, and I'm running into a format issue. I went out and asked a couple of different DVR companies, camera, CCTV. I've been working with one for about a decade, and they're phasing out their current system with a newer version that would change the remote software. So eventually we'll have to go around and upgrade all the other locations in time. But I recommend that we go to an IP system. I've got a couple of bids just to show you what it would actually cost and differences between a professional installer versus if the POA did it, it would roughly cost us a lot less money, but the labor involved is very intensive once you get up in the attic. And I'm looking at least a week, if not a little bit more, 80 to 90 man hours to get it done, on top of all the other stuff that POA or Public Works is trying to do and complete. So in your packet, you should see a couple of bids that I turned in. You can see some of them are right at the lowest one we have is 32,000. I had a couple other ones that were 37, 38, and then it goes up from there. And that's full 32 cameras, all the wiring and the installation and the labor. At this point, any questions?
Scott, does that give you more cameras?
Yes. So we currently have 18 operating cameras. Now that we've added our nice wine storage, we don't have any cameras outside in the patio. So when I met with one of the technicians, we walked around and looked at installing additional cameras as well. So we basically got up to about 12 additional cameras to be added, keeping the cameras that we have now with new cameras in the same location, but adding some out in the patio, some out here in the front entrance, a couple areas, one more here in the assembly room, also in the southwest room because we don't have anything in there. But so we added additionally 12 extra cameras. So I thought, well, why don't we just put a bid together for a whole brand new 32 channel system and all new wiring.
So Scott, does this just cover the lodge building or does it include the pavilion?
The pavilion is a separate system. It's on its own separate Wi-Fi. So it's, yeah.
Right.
If it's an IP system, will that make it the software updates more available to you and hopefully have a longer shelf life, if you will?
Yes. The difference, the nice thing about the RG59 or even the RG6, which is your cable modem style cable, the RG59 is a great cable, but it's slowly phasing out. Eventually, we'll have to change to RG6 or RG11, which is for long distance. So with that said, I mean, eventually we'll have to change out the wiring at some point anyway. So I figured, well, let's just go to an IP. It's one cable, not a separate where you need the coax and the power to power all the cameras separately.
All right.
So what's your estimate on how long we have before we've got something that's totally obsolete?
Yesterday.
It's already obsolete. It's already obsolete.
Yeah.
Just this location.
And then you stop working. That sucks.
That investigation, and we had, like I said, an incident happened, and they kept shutting down on us multiple times.
So like we're just looking at upgrading the lodge, but when you compare that to the other cameras and DVR systems we have, do you have an estimate of how long those still have a useful life? Or
Yeah. The IP cameras, yeah, they have a little bit longer shelf life than the coax version. And just recently, we've installed camera systems for the Par 3 area and also the driving range. So the IP cameras, right now we're at, a lot of them are at 5 megapixels. The lodge, we're at 1 megapixel. So it's been some time since we updated it.
How much do we have in total at Lake Kiowa?
I think I counted 72. Yeah. Yeah.
Where is the monitor for this system?
Well, in the lodge, we have a 55-inch screen that's in Jeremy's office that's hooked directly to it. So it's readily available to, but remotely, we can remote with the right software. We can remote into all the DVRs using one software.
It's a phone app too.
Yeah, it's a phone. Yeah.
Any other questions for him?
You're confident 32 is the correct number? You're happy with the coverage once you walked around, correct?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And that includes the labor for them to install.
Yes, actually, forgot to mention we get a 64 channel DVR upgrade for free. In
case
we wanted to add more in the future.
Great.
The majority of the labor is running the cable, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
All right. Is there a motion to approve an amount? What amount? So Scott, we have $32,000 on our agenda. Is that correct?
That
Or
is
is
correct.
that 38?
32.
All right. So Chris has made a motion to approve $32,000 for the lodge security CTV cameras, and there's a second. All right. Any other discussion?
Not to exceed 32, is that?
Not to exceed 32.
I do have one more question since you're right here standing.
Sure.
Will they pull the coax out of this place as part of that deal, or are they just going to leave it in the attic?
Oh, no, that's going to use as a pull
They're
string.
going to pull it? There you
Yeah.
go.
Follow it. Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
All right. All those in favor of not to exceed $32,000. All right. Raise your hand. All right. All those opposed, raise your hand. Motion passes 9-0. All right. I believe next on your list is the trail. Is that correct? Or Trimarine?
Next.
Trimarine.
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 And then we'll start out. We've revisited this a couple times too. Trimarine is a product from Solitude. It's basically gets rid of the organics in the bottom of the lake. So it's not a dredging per se. They call it organic dredging. They put in pellets, drop them down into the water, and they basically speed up the process of normal biodegrading. Went through all the chemicals of it, how it's made up. And then basically, again, it introduces oxygen, almost like your septic system, and it helps speed up the natural process of decomposing all the natural organic materials. It's not an algicide, not a herbicide. It's basically almost like food grade, so there's no harm to the water. They've given us some data of how possibly successful it could be. Most of these examples they gave us were ponds. And again, it basically increases the water depth by getting rid of the organic material. All the sand and the different items that we normally dredge will still remain. It doesn't require any heavy machinery like dredging. It's very non-invasive. It's time consuming though. Basically, you go through almost a 3-year process of introducing this to try to actually get the most you can get out of it. It's a 3-year term. The most you get is out of the first year, but it's kind of like a maintenance project. We looked at a couple of coves, Cochise Cove. They did some borings to test what the sediment was and what elements were in there and make it suitable for this process. We did actually 2 tests just to confirm Osceola and Cochise. And then again, kind of just going over the process. There's no guarantees this will work. We asked them that basically you pay for time and materials, and the water has to be 55 degrees. So basically it's like March through October. We'll do it for the first year is what we propose, kind of like a pilot project to see, if there's, a significant result that we can see. One other thing is they do their own testing, but we'll probably do third party. We currently use Pond Medics to do surveys. So we'll use Pond Medics as well to kind of verify what changes have taken place. We already have historical data of what those coves are. Those surveys that I showed previously, those are from Pond Medics, and they're fairly recent, like 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago. So we'll be able to use our historical data and see how everything changed. Cecil, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I do. Just for education to the board. we have plugged into a financial approved budget, $120,000, into the Lake Management Committee for this year for a potential project. We would like to keep this as small a scope as we possibly can. Again, asking for the extended amount, but which is in our budget. But we're wanting to do a limited pilot project to guarantee that what we believe is going to happen will happen. We'll keep it as small as we possibly can. One of the coves, Osceola, is down to around $50,000 for that project, and it's again they ask for payment on a monthly basis. So at the end of 3 months, if we're not seeing what we agree to see, we could back out on a 1 month basis. They are, again, as Rich said, this product that they use is state the term NSF 60 certified. It could be in drinking water and it would be safe, and it's been proven across a number of entities that they've been in business for quite some time. We'd want to do it again on a small pilot project, and just so everyone is aware, when we would use a third party to verify results. Pond Medics did a survey in the fall of 2022, and at that given point in time, we had almost 230,000 cubic yards of sediment it was listed in the coves. If you were to extrapolate out what Lake Solitude has told us the cost for dredging would be if they were to do it, they've given some quotes to the city of Frisco recently, and we got those. It'd be about 16 to 17 million dollars to do the dredging of the entire lake. Yeah, so we're trying to figure out some alternatives that would be more cost efficient than what dredge. We're not going to get away from dredging, I can tell you that. Longer term, this would mitigate some of that for some period of time if it holds up to what it is.
Some of it's members' expectations when they think about dredging and how deep we can go. We only can go to the hard pan below. A lot of the lake, even these, I mean, really, if you dredged, you get maybe a foot, 2 feet in some areas max. This bio dredging will get us maybe 6 inches of more depth of water, but you're talking about, almost, 40% increase in the depth of water, the amount of silt that we would be able to take out. So relatively for the amount of money you spend and what you get, it's vastly improved rather than mechanical dredging cost. Not only that, but just the evasiveness of it.
I know you've done your research, so I don't want to come off rude here, but y'all don't formally vote in the lake committee, but everyone wants to try this, correct or incorrect?
That is correct. It is a bit better for everyone. Matter of fact, one of our newest members to that committee, Michael Reinbrandt, is an expert in dredging. He had part of his career, the early part of his career was in dredging or I'll call it river basin and or lake waterway management. I'm going to get him heavily involved with this. I would put him as the lead for the project.
So follow up to that. So the Lake Management Committee, which kind of maintains the budget for Lake Management Reserve Fund, that's budgeted for this year, this $120,000 within the LMRF budget. Is that accurate? Okay.
So I'd like to just follow up with the research that I did, which says that you're not going to get any more than an inch at max. And this is from a University of Florida study and also 3 studies done by universities up in Michigan. They're finding that you really don't get the results. Now, that said, the $50,000 try it in one small cove, to me, that's at least appealing. And I know Mike Reinbrandt, and I know that we'll make sure that we have the right data up front and that we independently confirm what the results, at the end of 3 months or whatever that period is. But everything I've read says the results aren't there. And I was actually thinking of going down to Dallas because they've done a number of dredgings down there, White Rock Lake, Bachman Lake. Plano does dredging on all of their ponds, and none of them are using any of these chemicals. So I think some research in those areas might help us. But, I don't know if $50,000 to me for a trial might be worthwhile if we, have vigorous guidelines on it.
Cecil.
Solitude did one in Arlington and Millbrook, and they had some fairly good results. Again, everything's relative to what is in there. Depending on, like I said, they tested the soil. Not every place is conducive to a good result. So every place is different. And one question I had, and a lot of these are more like ponds, like you said, they seem to be more prevalent in ponds than lakes and coves. So that's why this is another kind of pilot project. The pellets themselves are heavy and they'll sink, but as they dissipate, how much is that kind of get washed out into the lake? So there are a lot of questions we have to ask, but again, instead of spending millions of dollars on dredging to get a foot, even if we can spend $50,000 and get, a few inches, I think that's, markedly cheaper.
What they have proposed to us, and again, it's not concrete and solid on a contract is 4 to 6 inches in the first 3 months.
That was going to be my question. What do they think they could do in the first 3 months as part of the pilot program? And if it's 4 to 5 inches, what would you consider a successful test for that? Because if that's the maximum you can get over the 3 month time period, where do you think it would be a success? Do they have to reach the 4 to 5 inches, or is there something lower that you would consider a successful test?
I would like to see at least 4 inches. I think 4 inches would be a good barometer that you're getting something out of it, especially because that would be after the first year, the first trial. I would say that's a few months, but they do it yearly and then they stop and they do it again, and it goes slower from that. But it's kind of a maintenance project. So if you don't get 4 inches out of the first year application, I would think then maybe you don't move forward. But I'd be looking probably for at least 4 inches.
So one of the other things that's involved in this is not just depth, it's water quality and clarity for the lake water. The lake we have right now, and they measured levels, what is in the bottom is full of phosphorus and nitrogen. And that's what gets dissolved and dissipated. It will make your water a lot clearer, cleaner, and healthier.
And that's from the fertilizer runoff, a lot of it?
From a number of places, and that would be a primary one. We don't control, or we cannot control what comes into here from the ranch land, let alone even just lakeside homeowners who have lawns fertilized, and then you have rains and that all goes into the lake. And golf courses, yeah.
So leach septic systems that are still out here.
I was going to say old systems. Mm-hmm.
Back to Cecil's point, though, so we're trying to find options, right? And trying to test ideas. So if it's $17 million to dredge the lake, ballpark, that's somewhere around $13,000-$14,000 per lot. So, we hear a lot, and then we'll talk about it in the member survey. Why don't we dredge the lake? And you could, if everyone was willing to strike a check for $12,000, $14,000, $15,000. So, to me, to your point, John, is this a viable option or not? I certainly don't know. I mean, I'm hoping to be optimistic about it, but to me, I like this concept of piloting it, see what happens, especially if we can get out of it early, if we want to, because this will save us maybe 5x from some of the dredging work that we're potentially up against.
And some of this is you don't know what you don't know. And again, I'm going to make sure that we've got the appropriate people involved in this, that, if there's anything that we become leery of, I mean, it's a no-go. We're not going to do anything that's going to harm this lake.
Cecil, I know most of these examples are ponds, and they disperse the product based on the cubic feet of water. And here we're not enclosed. So have you looked at another possible cove that has a smaller mouth than Osceola, so you don't have as much leaching into the lake and a dissipation of the amount of concentration that they need to be effective?
Well, and we can talk through that. One of the things we just had dredging done, or silt removal out of low water 1, low water 2, and low water 3. We would talked about potentially doing something in there. I mean, I wouldn't say that we absolutely go with Osceola, Rich. I would say we figure out where that optimum place to do, a concentrated test is.
Some of them, like we said, Cochise, or you pick out another one, then you're talking about the whole body of water. You're talking about spending more too. Like Osceola is twice as much as how much Osceola is going to cost. So find a small cove that has a smaller opening is a little bit difficult because you could do like Lone Wolf, but you'd be spending $200,000 to do your trial on that because of the size of it.
And I actually am in that cove, and so I've stomped around in all that muck, and I'll be out there stomping when the as a measurement.
Yeah, Cochise is my cove. Originally, you were going to go to Cochise, now it's Osceola.
They checked Little Beaver, and these are just what we proposed because we didn't check every cove. But I think we did Quanah, Little Wolf, Osceola, Cochise, and Little Beaver were the ones that we tested. They recommended to get the best results would be either Cochise or Osceola, were the ones they recommended out of the ones we tested.
And that's because they have a higher level of a silt composition than in clay and sand, which you won't get rid of using any of this.
Yeah, this only gets the organics. It doesn't get that other stuff. And when they measure the organics initially, that's what we got to pay attention to, because then you'll see how much reduction you get.
But the plus for this long term is that if it works and you expand that program over let's say the next 10 years, you have all of that's gone that you don't have to dredge out. So your dredging project becomes less expensive also because you've done this alternative process in the beginning and gotten, let's say even if it's 25% of that weight that's out of the bottom of the lake, you've gotten that part already gone at a lot less more money and less invasive also than full-fledged dredging.
So when you test it, okay, because those coves are not just like this. And so when you test it, it works really well on one side and it doesn't work really well on the other side. So how are you going to determine what your test area is to make sure it's successful?
The test area is that whole cove, like when we did those surveys. So it's the entire area. And I forget how.
So you expect it on the north side and the south side to have equal results?
No, it's just you test it and you see where the results are, but you'll have to evaluate the whole cove. I imagine, right now there's sandbars in certain areas that aren't going to change. So it's not going to be an equal across the board. It's where those organics are. So it probably will be certain areas. Because I don't know if we even have it on here.
So I would guess you'd take like multiple samples, core samples across the whole
And they
cove.
did.
Yeah.
Like here, you have the survey and you can see a couple little spots where the sandbars are on the coves. They're probably not going to decrease at all.
Okay, so what's your pleasure? What I heard was just to do one cove at one point in time.
A motion to do as small a pilot project as we possibly can do in one of the smaller coves. We'll make that choice and limit it to as little as we possibly can.
So up to what?
Up to,
well,
120 is what we had in the budget. The two bids we got was one for Cochise was 117,007. To Cecil's Point, Osceola was 56,084 for that one.
but if you choose to do another cove or another area.
Could, but we'd have to probably do more testing on that one to see if it's conducive to it.
And come back here to the board to get approval.
I don't think he meant to.
A little bit of it. We started going that way down that trail. So let's be a little more specific for us.
What point of order? Like when we spend $100,000 out of the ARF, if it's scheduled, we just spend it. It doesn't come to the board. So LMRF is the same. It's a restricted reserve fund. If this is already put into that budget, is it something the board has to vote on or should vote on? LMRF is also overseen by, the Ways and Means, not as closely as ARF and some other things. But so I don't know. If we did a bigger, like when we replaced the panel for the, golf course irrigation, that was $90,000. that was an ARF, so we didn't, those things don't come here. So I'm just trying to understand what the right process is.
I'm not always the person that says we've always done it this way, but we've always done it that way, just to make sure that we've approved what that fund is. And even though they have the oversight for it, they're still bringing projects to us. And so we're approving those projects. At least that's what we've done
Yeah,
before.
but his fund doesn't necessarily have a schedule of depreciation on cove sediment, right? So we haven't approved it to be spent, in my opinion, right? There's no schedule of we're spending this on a certain thing. I don't think you can just carte blanche say Cecil can spend 120 grand because it's budgeted. That's what they think.
Well, just to go back to, and approval, however you want to say, is the still ponds we just removed. I bring that as a report. This is approved. Go forward with it. But that was actually approved in the schedule because there was an LMR for our schedule at the budget. So it is a line item that's on the schedule. It's not the same as ARF, but it's in the schedule. But we still bring it here to go over it. Correct. We didn't have Trimarine specifically.
This is no different than Xerox.
Yeah.
In the budget, wasn't in the schedule.
We had money for dredging per se, but not the Trimarine project.
I'm just trying to figure out what the right answer is. I could make a case either way. I think the safest case is for us to vote on this, but
That would be my thought.
I think that
technically, I think you're right, Dan, but for transparency's sake, like we talk about.
So maybe, this will be another thing we add to the Ways and Means agenda just to try to clarify, what we think the right process is, and then bring that back to the board to get clarity. Because I don't want to have to I shouldn't say it that way. I don't think it's appropriate to come to the board if we're spending $55,000 on something that we need to replace in ARF, which is not exactly what this is doing, but it's kind of sets that precedent. So I'm not saying we're trying to not disclose anything or whatever, but there's been a lot of times where the board hasn't seen or had to vote on things that we spent in restricted reserve funds.
Because those particular assets were planned, they were on a schedule.
And we plugged the money into the budget as a contingency because we knew we were likely to do something. We didn't have all the details at that given point in time.
To Dylan's point, right, we're not amortizing depreciation on this, but because it doesn't make sense on the lake, but it's the same process. There's a list of items that the Lake Management Reserve Fund contains. The Lake Committee oversees that. The Ways and Means oversees that. So it's really the same thing. If you're going to say we have $100,000 for this project, granted this is probably an exception, then we just need to make sure we're being consistent. That's all I'm trying to say. So since this wasn't specifically a line item in the budget that was approved last November or December, again, I agree with Lisa. The more discreet we can make these things, the better.
So what's our motion?
Yeah, I got another try. The motion is for Osceola Cove not to exceed the 56,000 that's listed in their bid package, and it's a monthly fee. You could divide that. We'll go at a given point in time.
Make it simple.
The motion is to proceed with the 56,000, not to exceed 56,000.
Can I make just a comment? Because we will be having to do third-party surveys. It's every part of it, then we need some extra funds. So we'll have to go over the 56,000. I would make it easy, 75,000, not to exceed, or something similar.
Would you like to reduce it? Okay.
Yeah, that would amend to include the additional cost of the third party, up to $7,000 in total.
So what I heard is that your motion was to approve an amount up to $75,000 to use Trimarine on the Osceola Cove Lake Solitude. Okay, Lake Solitude. All right. Their Trimarine product. Is that correct? All right. All right. Second, Rick seconds it. Okay. All right. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor, raise your hand. All All right. And those opposed? All right. And we have approved that we'll spend up to $75,000 for Lake, is it management? I know, for Osceola Cove. Okay. All right. You got it, Kendall? 9-0? Okay, thank you. All right. All right. So moving on. Okay, I think the next thing is the Little Wolf Trail. Is that correct?
Think we can breeze through these a little bit quicker than that one. So, Little Wolf Trail, Rich and James, and I've kind of chipped in a little too here. If we've been working on the contract right now with Brian McCreary and McCreary Property Services right now to install the trail. The project was approved in the amount of $125,000 for decomposed granite, and so talked to Brian this morning, and it looks like he's got another job working, so it's about 2 to 3 weeks before he's through with that project when he can start, and then about a 7-week process. So by the end of May or something, we should be able to see a trail out there. We still have a couple other pieces to go with that. We still have to have a bridge to be able to cross that drainage ditch. So if you're looking up there in the lower right-hand corner where that blue line is, we've got to get across that at some point. So that's a separate item. And then also on the golf course up by hole 5 on the, kind of down at the very bottom of this screen here on the thing, you can see there's a little green stripe there called trail user protection. So we've kind of worked out a plan for that right now too, but we can put the trail in. And this is kind of typically what we're looking at for a type of trail user protection screen, probably a net of some sort, could be chain link, but more likely we'll go with a net that's a little more transparent, and then the cantilever so that the trail user could kind of walk close to the fence, and if there's any ball descending, they would be protected from that. So those are a couple other items that will come before you in the future. Any questions on Little Wolf Trail? We have. He's been really good. He did a lot of work out at the par 3 course, and he's been very good. Next one, par 3, the 9-hole golf course. We've got some hitting mats, and if you've been out there playing on that right now, there's some temporary mats that are out there that are being moved around during the non-growing season like this, so we don't tear up the course and it doesn't grow back. So we're also going to put in some permanent ones on a concrete base, and so that material's here. We just got to work out the contract details. I believe y'all have some more discussion on that later tonight.
Can I ask a clarifying question, Rich? How much money has the POA spent on the par 3 golf course to date, and how much is being spent this year? 0. Okay. I keep on getting questions about why is the POA spending money on the par 3? Yeah. And the answer is we're not, and can't unless we do another member vote.
Yeah. Jeff Hecker's here too from the Par 3 Association. So if there's any questions about any of that, Jeff can help with that too. Okay, next item. You've seen these renderings before with the Pro Shop patio cover. Rich was involved with getting a couple of bids, or at least a quote on those, and they were Rich, $60,000 and $100,000. So what it proves is that if we're going to do this, we have to go out for an RFP for this by bylaw. So that's next on my list, is to put together an RFP for this.
Go ahead. I think you're going to ask my question. The MGA pledge, it's not on this one.
Yeah.
And well, WJ did 15 and they did 5 at 24.
We gave a lot
So my question or comment was, my comment was going to be slightly different in that I am 100% in support of the patio cover, but we keep on getting feedback that let's make progress on things we have in motion before we add new things. So, so going out to RFP, if we delay this until we see pickleball coming, towards completion, the front gate getting some momentum, will we have to rebid because 60, 90 days have gone by if we wait and not try to do all these things concurrently. So I don't know what everyone else thinks, but I do know that I've personally gotten feedback. The member survey says, let's not build anything more until we kind of digest what we got today.
So to Dan's point, if we were to go out for an RFP now, we know that a contract is not going to be good for 30, 69. I mean, 30 days maybe, but certainly not longer than that. So if you want to work on the specs and those kinds of things and what the RFP would look like, you can certainly do that, but I wouldn't submit it for bid yet.
Yeah, we can easily do that, is go ahead and work a little bit with getting the document ready and then put it out whenever you feel like the timing is right.
We'll be ahead of the game at that point.
Okay. And I guess next, and we don't have any slides on this, but the playgrounds, as you are aware, there's, the movement going on for raising money for the playgrounds. And again, we'd have to do an RFP for this one too. Yeah, why don't you tell you, Rich,
just go back on the playgrounds too. There's been a group that's been looking at the playgrounds. We had notified that some of the playgrounds were somewhat non-compliant, so we resolved that issue, removing a swing and putting in the sufficient mulch base. So those are open after they were closed for a short period of time. The group, supposedly they're having another meeting, but the playground group wants to come, I believe, next month, be on the agenda to do a presentation for the playgrounds that they want. And then from there, go on to whatever they anticipate donating, what the POA would be looking to, match or compensate. So there'll hopefully be a presentation next month from the playground group of what they are asking and moving forward.
So two thoughts here. One is I heard someone very vocally say that it's ridiculous that we can't upgrade our playgrounds because we spent money on walking trails, which I thought that was a weird juxtaposition because the walking trails was approved a year or whatever plus ago, I forget, but a while ago, and has nothing to do with playgrounds. So, to me, I think we all want viable, safe playgrounds for all the appropriate people at Kiowa. So to wanted to get out there, wasn't one didn't get replaced by the other. The second one is there's other funding opportunities, I think. So if you take away the money that's designated in CDRF for pickleball, it leaves about $85,000. So they potentially could use 85 grand out of CDRF to help chip away at, the cost for the playground. So I think we have some options to explore beyond just CARF money or donations.
Possibly even our money for that.
Thanks.
Next item was basically a question for a board and actually just a little bit of going over education on the CARF schedule. The CARF schedule in front of you, has approved projects, has pending projects or proposed projects. Those are all added up. If you see the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth, we had started the year at 881,000. We'll accumulate another 546,000 by the end of the year with all the monthly dues that come in. And then we have all the items count down to what's already been approved, about 690,000. We approved about another $50,000 today with the printer and the CCTV cameras. Then we have all those proposed cameras. A lot of things you said we were talking about, the pro shop, porch roof is on there, a few other things. And, that comes up to another 635. You take all that down, you have $52,000 left. So if we did all the approved projects and all the proposed projects, we basically spend everything except for $50,000. And that's just kind of going through and how to read this and all the things that we talked about. All those proposed projects are just items that have been brought to the board at one point or another.
On this list, like the one Lane bridge repair, the dam repair, those are pretty much must do's. I'll say at some point, maybe not.
Yeah, the one lane bridge would be more of a maintenance. The dam repairs are definite needed maintenance. Some of the other items are somewhat.
That's what I'm trying to get to is some of these are more discretionary than others, right?
Correct.
Dam repair probably wouldn't go on the discretionary side, in my opinion. But also there's some other kind of refurbishment items on here that I wanted to get your feedback on, like the pavilion slab, this floor, the lodge plumbing and septic. To me, those things that are not necessarily under just, not really discretionary, that if we don't do it, things will get worse than they are now and potentially cost more. Is that an accurate way to look at it?
Like I said, those are more of like maintenance and refurbishments, almost like O&M items to a certain extent that aren't covered someplace else. And then you have the pro shop pergola roof, which would be an addition. It's completely elective. It doesn't even exist right now. It would be a new item. We can split this so it's read more easily and actually split that up as well.
That's not where I was going. I was just thinking that some of these things have been on this list for a long time.
Right.
And, do we want to start to move, maybe not tonight, but shortly on some of these other refurbishment things, because when I see, septic issues and others, is that something we just got to get done versus waiting until we figure out some of these other items?
And that was kind of where I was leading is, all these are kind of in there. The next step is kind of prioritizing them and the board prioritizing what do they think is the most needed or wanted items and kind of put those in an order. Right now that there's no specific order on those. So it's kind of looking at these, and these are some needed items, some wanted items, and how we prioritize them. And, we do this kind of every year as we start with a board. We do it at the budget meeting. These are in a budget meeting. We go through, these are all the proposed projects. But by the end of the year, they're just a bulk of items. How do we prioritize those now?
And a lot of these that are on there were ones that came off the master plan originally. And so they were from a long time ago, from like 4 or 5 years ago or 4 years ago. And so they've just continued to stay on there because we've continued to move them down in what's going on. So I wouldn't say they all have to be spent today.
Part of that is again, these are all some things that are needed at some point. Other things are wants or on the master plan. And then, again, I have the proposed projects with the costs there. So you think what could get done with the funds we have. And then, I have another $3 million below that with the beyond, which the playgrounds are part of. So it's, how do you move those around with the funds that are available?
How do we prioritize that? Then I know this.
What we did before is we looked at the master plan and we looked at what we were going to do for the future. So we were looking for long range planning items. And so that's sort of how we move some of the things that have happened along the way. And then I would say we take survey data because we have information now from people are saying what they think we should prioritize over something else. And so I would say take that back to the long range planning committee and the ways and means committee and let them look at that. And then go from there so that we get a better feel for what do we think we're going to be spending in the next, that's how I would do it. And then unless we have some different things that we see as a board, we throw it that way.
So my question to help with that is, long range planning is more about new, different type ideas, where a lot of these are refurbishment, probably wouldn't fall into some of that. So to me, how as a board do we prioritize new versus refurbishment?
I would say we go back to the Ways and Means Committee from there, because now you're looking at refurbishment, then you're looking at what do we need to do? And that's where community manager and public works manager are going to have to give us an idea. How long do we think that this floor is going to last? And so we would like to have a new one, but will it last another year, another 2 years? And so, I mean, those are assets from that perspective.
And if you're going to redo the lodge, something in there, and you're going to bring a bunch of people in here, I would probably wait on the floor. And there's some of this there's a priority list of wants, and some of it you just have a reason why it's 1, 2, and 3.
Correct. Right. So rather than making that decision in this board meeting, I think some other people can look at that and bring it back. That would be my recommendation. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Rich? That was me.
I'll move on a little bit from that and just go to the kind of like the updates. The first one I had is for the administration. We had an article going into the communique for this month because per the election, the road reserve fund passed. Just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. That is effective April 1st. And again, that's a $20 addition fee to the bills or to your dues. And just trying to make sure we get that message out. And if there's any questions about that.
So we approve what am I going to say? O&M, LMRF, all that in that schedule that we send out. Do we need to redo that as well? Since we voted on that at the December meeting, right? For the new budget and what all the amounts would be. And now we're going to add a road reserve fund of $20. Do we have to reapprove that?
No, the road reserve fund with the resolution and the vote is approved. And per the resolution, it's effective April 1st. So it's just a complete add-on.
I think it'd be a good idea just to send everyone their revised fee schedule. I think is what you formally call it, which is simple in my opinion.
The form, yeah.
Fee schedule.
We'll update
shows
that.
what it's broken.
Yes. I'll make sure that's part of it. And then I'll do Scott's Public Works project update. A lot of road repairs going on, and I had the little map I included into your board packet, as long as with a little spreadsheet of like all the costs and how everything's allocated through the year. We'll send out a constant contact, and in the next communique, kind of publish what the road project is this month, kind of how we're looking into the future, and try to give a better update on the road, just how the whole process works and what projects are getting done. He's got par 3 driving range on here. One thing that came up was we added some handicap parking spaces by the driving range building. It wasn't originally intended for vehicles. That we had some issues with people who aren't coming in cars who are more handicapped, and it's a long walk up to the driving range building. So we'll have a couple of handicap parking spots, but then we'll have bollards there to block traffic from further going up the T area, trying to keep vehicles off of that T area, which has been an issue. East Gate, what they refer to the R2D2 unit, had some issues. That's been resecured, so the East Gate's been fixed again. Hopefully it'll last longer this time and won't have too many issues. Got the bids for the pergola we mentioned. We had some erosion on 16 Green that was resolved. We're working on this month. The East Beaches, we're prepping for the maintenance on those. Just pay attention to see what we can do with the East Beach. All the buoys, safety rope, those are all being attended to. As I mentioned, the playground's been reopened, but the swing is missing from the West Beach. Lakes, parks, and dams, new flowers have been planted. And then we did some more erosion on the east wing wall of the dam, basically just we had some sinkholes over there. We filled it in with some rock, try to get some base in there to get that solidified before. I mean, we'll be doing some more maintenance on there once we get a little more better report from the dam people. We'll have a talk later this week and try to again review the piezometers and the downstream side of the face of the dam to see when we can do that. We keep moving a little bit closer, trying to get more information on that. Restroom 4 T-box, the sinkhole, the whole septic's going to have to get replaced. Again, when you're talking about expenses and O&M, we've had quite a few of issues. The septic's going to be about $8,000. And that's all this is coming out of the O&M budgets, but it's really eating into the O&M budget. We have the roll down door, one of the bay doors at Public Works needs to be replaced. The gate that goes into Public Works and POA admin again needs to get replaced. The assembly room doors are being replaced. They're all separate entities to where the money's coming out of building maintenance, but you're talking about over $30,000 in just building maintenance these first few months. Is eating heavily into the O&M expenses. And then just a reminder, we got spring cleanup this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We'll be sending out more constant contacts about that. They've already been going out. Next up is security. I'll just do a quick little update. Full-time staffing, there are a couple people short, one full-time, one part-time. They had 1 hour on lake patrol in the month of February, had 484 hours of street patrols, 22 citations, 7 warnings. And then Melanie did a great job. And it'll be in the communique, but in a little new format of notifying of all the things that's happened in security. I've had some really good feedback from that. It looks really good, but it's very informative as well. And then I'll also have a report on here on Lake Patrol, if you want to speak about that.
Good evening and congratulations to the new board members, and thank you for volunteering your time. For those that I don't know, Mr. Makuta, I'm Melanie Cade. With Lake Patrol, it's difficult. Talk about prioritizing. I currently have 11 full-time people, and they work 7 days a week. Well, they don't all. I've got to take 11 people and spread them out 7 days a week, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And with 11 people, that's really difficult. But I have a great team that is willing to, they're very family oriented. And when I say family oriented, they're security family oriented. And so with being short 1.5 people, I've put out a calendar until I can hire that 1.5 person. And so what we're going to do is I've put out a calendar and I've said, please, can each one of you dedicate some time exclusively basically to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Can you dedicate a day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, just once a month with all those people? We should be able to cover that. And so I can tell you right now, we've already filled up May. So I've got 2 of my guys right here, and everybody else has, and myself included, will dedicate a day on our day off or work overtime. So yes, we're going to exceed overtime, maybe not exceed the budget of overtime, but we're going to have to use overtime. You know, everybody says that security is there, and I'm probably going to go into speech that I shouldn't, but security is one of their priorities, and it's hard to make a schedule and take care of everything. We did talk in the safety and security meeting about why can't we take the patrol officer off the street and put them on the lake, and that was a big contention during the safety and security. And patrol is one of the number one things that's near to my heart. Safety and security is big to my heart, but we escort Cook County EMS, and I talked with Monroe a couple of days ago, and I asked him, why do we really, really need to escort the ambulances? And he informed me that Cook County EMS has 5 full-time people. And so the fill-ins don't know our streets. And if you don't know, Google Maps does not include all of our streets. And so whenever you come in, if you'll notice, if your family or any visitors try to come in, a lot of times Google Maps will take you around the long way. Well, that's what it does when EMS comes through, because a lot of these guys, well, majority of their guys are part-time people. And so on many occasions, they have come to me and thanked my guys for taking them the quickest route. And it has saved a life with strokes and with heart attacks. And it just concerns me that if I take somebody off the streets and they're on the lake, then somebody's going to have a near stroke or heart attack, and I don't have somebody to get there. Don't get me wrong, the lake is very important to me, and we had an incident this weekend that could have been catastrophic. And I want Lake Patrol, and like I said, we will fulfill the lake until we get that other person. So I want you to know that it is near and dear to my heart. The community is near and dear to my heart, and we are going to fulfill it with overtime people. But I just want to say that with 12 people full-time, it is difficult to do, but we're doing our best.
Where do I go with this? Other than, the lake has been one of those areas that we've just kind of assumed that it's going to be okay just the way it is. And from a safety standpoint, we continue to see, and I'll ask you, we continue to see more and more potentials for a real risk and a real problem from a safety standpoint. And we're none of us want to see that on the lake. And you know, we're not going, I would ask not to be out there again. It's more of a to patrol, just to make sure that there's a presence and people know and understand that, you know, no different than the roads or anything else, we have guidelines, you know, and behaviors and actions that should be done. And without any presence whatsoever, and we had a presence last summer until you lost staffing, and it went down tremendously. Again, I firsthand experienced what potentially could have been a serious accident over this weekend because there was a boater with members and or maybe even non-members involved that acted unfavorably, and it could have been pretty serious. So we want people to know and understand the lake is no different than the roads. You know, go out and have fun, do your thing, but you got guidelines and minimal rules.
We're going to get people out there. I just want you to understand it will be covered by overtime because with the fair to market analysis, y'all were gracious and approved that. But I also lost another person in order for us to afford to do that. So now I'm operating with 12 people, 12 and a half people when I can get it fulfilled. So now, right now I'm operating with 11 people. So it's just difficult. But like I said, right now they're willing to step up and do overtime. And so.
So when do you plan to start it, Melanie?
May 1st.
May 1st. Okay. We won't have any out there over Easter?
Yes, we will. We're going to have people out there, but I will have dedicated people Friday, Saturday, and Sunday beginning May 1st. And then we will have sporadic people during the month of April. I don't know. I got it late after the board packet, but I did find a boat, a type of boat that I would be interested in that I feel like would fit our budget. I shared it with Rich, but it was late Friday, I believe. So I don't know if you're able to share it with him yet. No. Okay. I'll share it with you, Cecil and Dylan, because I know y'all were interested. Pardon me? And Ronnie. Yes, sir.
And Melanie, thank you. Appreciate the effort you're putting forth now to try and make sure that we have something out there, you know, from even the hours that we're going to see, you know, as long as what I see in this plan happens, it will be a great help.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to get some rules put out. I'm not shy to communicate. I'll put things out. Y'all know I'm not shy to communicate. So I will continue my communications, and we'll get it covered as much as possible.
We had someone, a member, suggest that we make sure that, you know, when guests are coming in, they get that handout to know, you know, how do you ride a jet ski around? You know, what is the flow of traffic on the lake? And I know that we do some of that already, but that was just a suggestion that a member had, that we provide more information to those guests coming in case the member didn't. So
maybe if we didn't hand it to every guest, because not every guest goes to the lake, but maybe I could look at making a little, I worked in emergency management and we made little cards. So maybe I can create some kind of card, and whenever they come and get their boat sticker or something, or whenever they have, I don't know, maybe lake management or fishing tournaments, that kind of stuff, we can disseminate those.
Sure. I think that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay.
And
I'll look at the
especially
costumes.
if it's even something that we could laminate.
That's what I was thinking, maybe a little laminated.
And it could go on the boat. So that way, at least it's there. So
Do we have a laminator? I do.
We do,
The
but
reason I was asking, I have one.
if we do it in mass amounts, I would hate to say, hey, Lisa, can you laminate all these? So we deal with Gainesville Printing, and
Oh, okay.
I'm going to look into it this week and create something. I already told another member that I'd get something out this week too.
You know,
So
Lauren's got her, what do they call them? Golf marshals. Is there any way that we could incorporate maybe some members into?
Golf marshals are paid to their employees.
All comes down to money. It's amazing.
So thank you, though,
Yeah.
for putting this together. We
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate that
Yeah.
and continue to communicate that out. So,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
love this. Oh, that was great.
Got to do it again.
Yeah.
thank you. Any other updates, Rich?
Not really. Still working on the lodge bar expansion. Still trying to sell more wine cabinets if anybody's still interested. And that's about it. Really, just no major updates on anything else.
Okay. All right.
Like 2 years ago, the POA was going to demo a machine that goes behind our existing tractor to clean up and fluff the sand at the beaches. Whatever happened with that? Been a while.
I don't recall anything about that. We rake the beaches right now. We had requested a beach cleaner that was rejected. I don't remember demoing or fixing anything else up. I know somebody else, suggested something. It's basically what we have, a rake, but I don't remember anything like that. We proposed purchasing a beach cleaner and that was rejected.
The beach cleaner, you think it was? Did we demo the beach cleaner? We demoed. I remember we had
We never had a beach cleaner of any sort, and I don't know what you would be, which one you're talking about, demo in a project. I don't know.
When you say demo, I mean try, like get a piece of equipment and try it. Yeah, right.
Right. No, that's what I said is yeah, there was nothing to demo. I think Dean brought something up that he was going to show us, but it's basically the same thing we have. It wasn't anything new. It's basically the rake system that we use now. So there wasn't another product or machinery.
I bet I'm thinking of the cleaner, and I thought we agreed that they would. Did we even know if it was going to work? Because it was a lot of money, if I remember right.
Right. And we couldn't rent one, and we couldn't get a temporary one.
Could not get it. So that's
Right.
the answer to my question. Why it never?
But we really don't have an answer for Karen Chapman's question at the start of the meeting. We really don't have a way to.
Well, I mean, the only thing we can do is continue to rake it, which really doesn't do as well. It's compacted. The only other thing we could do is bring in a ton of sand and rake everything and put a whole nother layer of sand on it. And the issue with that, the higher the sand gets, the more that washes away.
Yeah.
And we've done that before.
Correct.
On both beaches.
Correct. The only other thing you can do is, I don't know how much you'd have to do, but like I said, it's compacted so much. Like she said, it's so hard and trying to rake it. Other than a beach cleaner that'll tow through it, I don't know if we can go through there and almost like excavate it all and do something. But I mean, I don't know how to do that or if that would work or what we would do.
What did that beach cleaner cost? Do you remember?
Scott, do you remember what the beach cleaner cost?
I believe last year when we presented it was, I think, at 17,000.
Yeah, because I don't think we gave it a hard no. I think we said, can we try it to see if it works for us? Is what we were talking. I think it was 2 years ago. It had just been Ronnie, Nancy, and I on.
They wouldn't let us try one, and we tried to find a rent one, and we couldn't do that. Yeah. And then Dean had an alternate, like I said about, but that was.
Yeah, you couldn't use a Hera or a small disc or,
Plow it.
Yeah, that's what I was
basically
thinking.
plow it. We have our
Plow it.
backhoe. I don't know if we can tear it all up and redo it. I don't know. But we'd have to completely like almost excavate the entire beach. Yeah.
People are doing something. I don't know what the solution is. I haven't put enough thought into it, but there's definitely a solution out there, and we just need to figure it out. So
I mean, same thing happens in Galveston all the time.
there's a seaweed. They're cleaning seaweed more than anything, right? And then also
Yes, but they lost lots of beach.
Yeah.
Look at Hawaii. They lost
Yeah.
lots of beach too. So, Jim?
A way to drag it too, but I don't know that, to go out and drag everything back and what you need to do. There's different ways to do, but I don't know the specific.
Just an out there solution that we've looked at with Parks and Rec at one point too was on the beaches. Well, let's take this one as an example where the volleyball court is now. It's raised. If you made that a nice beach sand, it would not wash away because it's raised up. You could also do that at the East Beach. You could create a raised area, kind of a linear thing where kids could play in in good beach sand that doesn't get washed away, but you'd have to build retaining walls to hold that. So it becomes costly, but that might be a solution to getting at least some areas where the kids could play in a decent sand, or you could sunbathe on sand. So just a possible alternative for to trying to clean it all the time and do all those things. I did some research a long time ago on beach sand too, and dumping it in there. There is an impact on the lake too when you start doing that. There is a chemical reaction. All the sand, I don't know, when we dredged out over here, Cecil probably remembers this, by the irrigation intake over here, we pulled out all the sand from the beach. So, I mean, you can put it out there and then we turn around and have to spend money to clean it out too. So it's not an easy solution. Yeah.
Fair enough. We have a member that owns a retaining wall company, so we could probably ask him for some help. And we have a member that owns a tractor dealership.
Any other business to come before us?
Please.
Well, just on that note, so I did send you a suggestion. I know we're running late, especially for the new folks that don't have the board meeting stamina put together yet. So are you okay if we?
I'll start taking an afternoon nap.
Short.
Yeah, I know that's hard with me. I do my best.
I'll give you 2 minutes.
All right. So this is just food for thought. Nothing to really go deep on tonight. Yeah, you can time me. And just throwing it out there so we can have future discussions on whether these are good ideas or not. I tend to have a lot of ideas. Not all of them are good. So the first idea was, on the board now a year, time flies on the board. Lots of things change. We lost 3 good people. We added 3 good people. How do we kind of keep that continuity? We have the vision, mission, value. We have the KPI frameworks. But is there an opportunity to supplement that? And the idea really is, could we create kind of I know I haven't come up with good words, but board mentors at an advisory board, or a group of people that have been at Kiowa a while, former board members, ideally former board presidents, that could be attached to the board in some way. They wouldn't have any voting rights or anything like that, but really their charge would be, historian, coach, mentor, kind of continuing that institutional knowledge and consistency of thought, right? I mean, Corky's played that role officially or unofficially for a long time. I know Jim's here on the board, now other board members that are here that have seen a lot of things. And, we tend to get distracted by certain things, and it takes a while for new folks to get up to speed. So is that a concept that if we created a group of small 3-5 people maybe that would maybe mentor new members, mentor the board president when we have new presidents, just to kind of help that, through that process. So to me, that it's so hard to keep that institutional knowledge around here, and lots of projects are hard and complicated and take more than a year, 2 years, 3 years to get done. And could those folks kind of help us drive with that consistency of knowledge? So nothing to solve for tonight, but I'll probably come back to you guys at a future discussion to see if that's something that has any merit or not. In the meantime, if you think it has merit or you think it's not, let me know, but I probably will sponsor that again or come back to that. I know I'm running out of time. The other item is, we talked a lot about projects, and in this last member survey, they've asked for more transparent, consistent feedback. So the concept would be to create a board level, POA level project plan for the higher significant projects, be it front entrance, pickleball, playgrounds, whatever it may be, lake dredging, and just create that format. We go through every month here. And that, to me, the other thing is, as I said, we get distracted when something big comes up. So how do we, put things on there that we know we have to revisit? So when something exciting, maybe not in a good way, but comes up, we don't lose sight of some of those things. So creating that kind of project plan we can review and we can send out on a regular basis to the members, and even with all the other board meeting information and constant contact. Right. And then I know I'm out of time, but here's the last one.
So you're going to do the second one with Rich, is that correct? You're going to create that? Okay, that's what I thought I heard you say. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And the last one is a couple years ago, we had a regular calendar where committees would come to the board meetings, give updates. And I thought that was really helpful. So just again, thinking, trying to get your ideas around, would that be something that would be helpful to reestablish? Maybe not all 19 committees or maybe not all at once, but having a calendar so that we can say, Ways and Means comes and does an update in July and, Lake does it in August or whatever. So we can cover the high profile meetings or committees during the year. They know what's going on and we know what's going on. And I think that helps from a communication, but also I think helps from just how do we are aligning across the board? How do the committees align with the vision, mission, values? How do we think about all those things together? So again, nothing to be decided on tonight, but those are three things that came up to me in the last couple of weeks that I wanted to get your feedback at some point.
Okay. If you have feedback for Dan, please provide that. Not right now, but you can provide it later on. All right. Any other additional business to come up to us? All right. Last time for the comments from any members at this point in time. All right. Name and lot number, please. And you have 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Victoria Cower, lot 1242. I think I can confirm after. I had questions about how sexual harassment was defined and how the board plans to investigate and confirm that anything has happened when they're placing those fines, just because I don't know if there's any liability in that. But it said any form, any person, and I was a little bit worried about the open-endedness, liability-wise in a community. And law does exist, so there's some follow-up on that end, and whether or not any of those fines were given to the person that was harassed or if it was all board collection, and if so, for what, was kind of curiosity there. But hold on, I have 2 minutes. Things get buried in constant contact and through the apps, website, communicate, constant contact emails. It can be a little bit obsolete, and there's Facebook, so message boards, I'm against that. Part 3, nothing was spent, $0 by the board, but was anything donated? I understood that there was land donated, so curious about that. The golf pro shop pergola, curious about the need on that because the pavilion and lodge is right next to it, as opposed to, and the third walking trail, I understand they're different buckets, but like the playgrounds were kind of dysfunctional. So I'm wondering where community demographics factor into the prioritization list, because if it takes 2 years to do a project, in 2 years, the priorities may have changed. So earmarked or not, maybe it's different. What else do I have? Volunteer possibility for, okay, if we can't put people on the lake because they don't have the adequate training, they're not employees, is there something we can do like a community watch program to help support security in that way to offset some hours for that lake patrol in interim? Did I make my 2 minutes?
Sure. You did good.
So Vicky, what I would ask is you forward an email to Nancy or whoever, myself, with on all of those.
So you can send it to me. It'll be great.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we don't miss anything that we force you to run through so quickly.
Nope. I mean, they're all good questions. All good questions.
I agree.
Mark Lundgren, 1570. So I agree with Victoria. My thought was neighborhood watch on the water. That's one good way to do it. Just get a designated boat or something that's very visible to everybody that's on the lake and just know that somebody's out there watching. It's kind of like security driving around the neighborhood. Skunk patrol. The second thing is the message boards. Just a thought. I'm not for the message boards, but if everybody's unsure, why don't we just turn them off and before we demolish them and see if anybody makes any comments?
Thank you. All right, Jim.
Jim Adams, lot 666. One thing, I don't want to put Melanie on the spot, but I would like maybe the board maybe to ask Rich and Melody to give back a report on what's different from like 2019, 2020, 21 on lake patrol and staffing. because we used to put people out there all the time on the weekends. And so did these boards, maybe I was one of them, I don't remember doing it, but cut back staff. I mean, if they're short right now, I get it. But if they're at the same staff level as several years ago, something's not making sense, or we were giving up something back then. What were we giving up that it's more important now? So just maybe a give and take with them. The other thing I want to say thank you for, I mean, I think it's a great idea to do the lake, the trial thing on the lake. And I want to appreciate John for just challenging it and asking questions and looking at it from a different point of view. But given this trial, I think it's a good try. But I also wanted to take this time, I try to do it a lot of times, to say, when I was on the board, we had that pond medic study, and Rich alluded to it, but on average, in every cove, there's only 6 to 8 inches of silt. And there are 2-foot mounds, as he said, as Rich said. So we're going to cut into that 6 to 8 inches. But everybody thinks when you go to dredge and you go spend $17 million, you're going to get all this extra depth, but you're not. But we do need to clean up the water. And the other thing is that if you go down, and we found that out when we were doing the low water drop off, that there's a lot of silt down there. It all goes downhill, and it just tends to, and that's what there's a few people told me when I was on the board, and I didn't know that until I saw that study. But it's down there is where it is, and maybe I'm no expert, but maybe if we dredge that area, it allows more to flow downhill too. So just throwing that out. Finally, related to all that, Dan, you said we don't maybe have to prove it because it was on the lake management. It's in the lake management. Well, just I would hope if there's, and you guys debated a lot, those kind of decisions are still made by the board. If it has to have a RFP or has to have some discussion, those things in RF are very scheduled, very repeatable things. And finally, you should have a very detailed, but if you had a very detailed budget per law by IRS on all your fixed funds, then you maybe will get by with that. But I don't think you have that detailed level of budget. So just pointing that out.
Thanks, Jim. Any others? All right, we are now recessed from our regular meeting. We will take a break for 10 minutes, and then we will have a motion to go into executive session after that. So you have a 10-minute break. So